turned it off. All right. So what I did want to talk about was the behavior narration piece, and I'm glad that you mentioned it. So last week we talked about how there's like this group of kids in your class that are totally, well, not last week at all, before break.
Yeah.
But last time we talked about how like there's this horde of kids that are totally on your side, and they're kind of looking to you to be recognized, and then there's this whole group of kids kind of below that level that could be, that through positive narration can totally be swung in the other direction. And that in general, positive narration can be a really good tool for creating urgency and purpose. Do you still feel like that is true? That still describes the situation? That positive narration can be a tool in that way?
Yeah.
And that
and I find that on days that I do a good job with that, that the behavior is typically a lot better. So like yesterday, 10-2 was fantastic.
Awesome.
Behavior-wise, like nobody, I think I had one kid that was out in the first 2 minutes because he refused to sit where he was supposed to sit. And then...
Who was that?
Michael Hudson.
Okay.
It's too cold, apparently.
Got it.
And I was like, no, it's...
Poor baby.
And then, yeah, so there was that. And then one other student got a demerit.
Okay.
The rest of the class.
Awesome.
So we were, and they actually, I managed to get their mastery tracker info in for that particular class this morning.
Okay. How was it?
It was kind of a light class as far as number of students that were there.
For the kids that were present, how
But
did you do
for
on
the ones that
mastery?
were there, it was 86%.
Excellent. Do you
Yeah.
feel like behavior narration played a part towards the mastery of the class?
So, like, that's something I've been really working on with that class
Mhm.
for, since before break, since we started talking about it, like, specifically with that class, because I had seen them really great at the beginning, and then they were really starting to devolve into what they were in, like, December.
Yeah.
So we'd really been working hard on that, like, from my perspective, and I feel like that's really starting to show up. They're starting to see more of, like, themselves being scholars.
Okay.
And they're owning that more. And so, like, not everybody was, like, reading, like, volunteering to read out loud, but everybody was following along on their paper. They were taking the notes that I was asking them to take. So we did a lot of vocabulary building type stuff with that as well. And they did really well. They were really successful with it. So I was really excited about that. And I feel like the build-up with them worked really well.
What do you mean by the build-up?
Like the build-up of positive narration over
I
time.
see.
Yeah. It hasn't worked as well with 10-3, and I think a lot of that is due to attendance issues from 10-3.
Okay.
And so, like, they're not getting as consistent, like, build-up and that kind of stuff, which is, like, my only complaint about only seeing science every other day.
I see.
Is, like, it's harder to build up that consistency.
If someone's absent twice in a week.
Yeah, like, they've
It could
missed
be
an
both your
entire week
classes.
of my class.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like Conway and I've talked about, like, I like having a longer class. That's great. But at the same time, sometimes I wonder if I would be willing to sacrifice having the longer class
To see them
to
every
be
day.
able to see them every day. Because I think
Sometimes I think that too, but I don't know.
yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm not sure
I
that
don't
I want
know.
to see them every day. But
So I'm glad that you feel like it's working with 10-2. I actually haven't gotten to see it in action with 10-2. I haven't seen it, and I want to just like lay it right on the table. So we've been working on behavior narration since like the beginning of December, and I feel when I go in, I rarely have opportunities to see it in action. So I feel as though I am seeing transitions, which I consider to be going from, like, basically expectations are changing from whole group to individual, whatever. Eyes over there to eyes over here. And so our next steps were pretty specific about narration during every transition, such and such. And so I started like kind of feeling concerned, like, oh no, like I'm going in and I'm not seeing any evidence of this behavior narration. Kind of like where's the rub? So can you kind of tell me, it sounds like you feel good about it with 10-2, but for 10-3 and probably 10-4,
yeah,
it probably feels different.
So for them, it's like, and a lot of it is like me getting into the habit of really doing it, because it does take a lot of time to build a habit, right? And like I'm very aware that it's not happening fast enough. for me. Like, it needs to be happening faster, like building the habit. So
You mean going from not using it to using
yeah,
it, or when you're actually saying
of consistently using
I
it.
see, okay.
Like, so it's not that I'm not using positive narration, but like I know, like for me, that it's not consistent enough.
Okay. Okay.
And so like the observation of like I'm not seeing it, but I mean part of that is because like you're not in there for that long, but also like yeah, I'm not consistent enough with it, so that's probably one reason why you haven't seen as much of it as you'd like to.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm still working on that.
I'm not stressed out about it.
Yeah,
I don't think
no.
you need to be stressed out.
No.
I just wanted to make sure that, basically, that we're on the same page with it.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
wanted to make sure that you did feel it was important.
I feel it is. I think it's really important. I feel like it's helped a lot. Like, and even with 10-3, like I say they weren't great today, but 80% of them were doing what they needed to do. It's just the other ones that are just like,
I mean, that's personally what I love about behavior narration is that you kind of end up never leaving the day being like, they were monsters, because you spend so much of your mental energy recognizing the positive.
Yeah.
So it is nice that the more work you put into being more consistent, the better you'll feel about the class also, just kind of on like an emotional sustainability
and
level.
so like 10-4 was the same way today. Like it's the same kind of like, it's only a few kids. Like, because I came out of there thinking to myself, oh my God. And then I looked at my demerit track and I was like, it's really only a few kids. It's not
But if
the
you have
entire
that feeling
class.
of like, this did not go the way I envisioned it,
yeah, and so that's like the
then that's the
consistency
rub.
for me. And part of my problem today is like, I didn't come in a good place because I had like 4 hours of sleep last night.
I'm sorry.
Me too.
I really do feel your pain on that piece.
Yeah.
I'm having crazy person dreams, but we'll talk about that later. So in terms of, like, you feel good about it in 10-2. It feels like it's working in 10-2. What needs to change in order for it to happen in 10-3 and 10-4 specifically? Like, what specific things what habits do you feel you need to develop in order for it to happen?
Like, honestly, I think something, and I've kind of been trying to do this a little bit, is whenever I see a behavior that I'm like, I gotta give a demerit for that, instead of immediately giving the demerit for it, trying to recognize someone or a group of someone's that are doing it right to see if that person changes. And so that's one of the ideas that I had over break to do.
Like using it as an intervention piece.
Yeah,
which is the function of it.
Right, and so like instead of just immediately going to the demerit, which is, I would say probably easier in a lot of ways, but not as effective, and therefore not as easy.
Right.
But just trying to really recognize the positive things before I go back to the kid that I saw doing what they weren't supposed to be doing, and if they're still doing it, then giving the demerit.
Okay. I don't know if thinking like every single time I give a demerit, I should say something.
Well,
I should narrate
not necessarily
first.
the same thing.
Will
So like,
be
if it's
where you
like,
wanna put down right then.
let's say like today I see Kentrell's talking when he's not supposed to, because he was. But trying to, like, if I see him talking, like recognizing that, wow, everybody at table 4 is a level 0, just like I asked right now, great job, table 4. And I see table 2 is also a level 0, great job, Kentrell's still talking, so that's one for you. And then, if I see other people still talking, like giving them the demerits as well. So like, not like, Kentrell, I gave you 1 demerit, and now I see somebody else talking, so now I'm going to do another round of positive narration.
Right.
Like, that's ridiculous.
What you're describing is really using it how it best works, which is immediately after giving the expectation and immediately before giving a consequence. It's like that middle ground between this is what to do, you're not doing it. It's the space in between that.
Right.
So really using it purposefully after what to do and before the consequence. In terms of in terms of what needs to happen in order for you to increase the habit of it, so that it feels more automatic, what are some things you feel could contribute to that?
Like, and that's part of where I'm getting stuck and
Okay.
probably why I'm not building the habit as fast as I could be.
All right, so let's work on that piece then. I had an idea. You can tell me if it sounds like something that would help you build the habit,
Okay.
which was practicing live in the classroom.
Like
You know,
the real time stuff.
Yeah, not like Bluetooth Agent Evans to Agent Yoakum, although I would love an excuse to do that. But I was thinking similarly to how we color coded
Mm-hmm.
with the groups, I could stand in the back with a note card that just says narrate and just wave it every time it's supposed to. Every time I see,
Or just
a
like a
good
color?
opportunity.
Yeah. The other
Not
thing,
even. It doesn't even have to because like just one. Not
No,
like
but
we did where
a
it was
symbol
like
of some sort.
yeah, different from how we were doing.
Mhm.
Okay, now is expectation. Now is narrate. Now
Mhm.
is consequence. Just focusing on the narrate piece.
Right.
And so I could come in for about 30 minutes, preferably a time where there would be lots of transitions, and I could just signal every time where narrating would be useful.
Okay.
Ideally, it would be a time where you're giving expectations 4 to 5 times.
Okay. So can you put that on, like, for me, looking to see, like, what time frame that would work for like next Wednesday?
Unfortunately, I'll be in DC.
Yes, right. The week after that.
Tomorrow's Thursday. Friday. I could do Friday. Friday, you're going to be at
field
Hamlet.
trip.
I'm so jealous.
So I actually would really love for you to do it with 10-3 specifically.
I would too. Do you see
Um,
10-3 tomorrow morning?
I saw them today.
Do you see 10-4 tomorrow morning?
No, I saw them today.
Dagnabbit.
I know, right?
Should we test it out with 10-2 anyway? I don't want to kind of throw this idea out in the wind and then peace out for a week and a half. What about
The thing is, it's review, so there's really not that kind of.
you're going to find, and maybe that's the piece with the habit,
Okay.
is that